Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I wanted to show you a quick but great defensive drill that you can add into your practice, your next training regimen. And this is also going to work on conditioning. And oftentimes I see a lot of conditioning drills that are just running and just running for running's sake. But this is a basketball drill that's also conditioning, but gets you to work on technique and defense. We call this Vegas closeouts. Like I said, it's a great defensive drill. It's good for conditioning, but you're going to work on your defensive closeouts, then to defensive slides, and then sprint to the next line. Cues for coaches: you should be watching technique, and you should be watching their effort, their communication, and how they're talking. And I got criticized on a previous video. Somebody commented and said, that's not how you should close out. The NBA does it like this. NBA players don't close out like that. And to that I say, we're not coaching NBA players. We're not coaching NBA level athletes at the high school, middle school, or youth levels. So we have to teach it a certain way so that our players can break down. They're not going to get blown by off of a drive. And because we don't have a shot clock, we're going to teach it this way. If we did play with a shot clock, we might teach, to run by, fly by, but we're going to teach it this way so our players break down the right way. So as you see, they'll close out to the free throw line, go into a defensive slide, sprint up to the half court line, close out, do a defensive slide, come back, go to the next free throw line, defensive slide out, come back, and then they'll go to the end line. Now the finisher here is when they get to the end line, they close out, they go out, they come back in, and then they're going to sprint around the outside. And then when they get to half court, they're going to turn and backpedal as if they were the first defender back. So they're backpedaling, they're talking. We tell them to say basket, 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 or whatever cue you have defensively. Teach them to call that out as if they were the back defender. And so again, it's getting them to be able to run backwards. You're running backwards. You can see the ball in front of you, and you're communicating to the defenders in front of you. It may be pointing, or it may be calling out, you have the basket, and that tells the other defenders to stop the ball or to find the next pass. Now we will usually put a coach at each line, so they're watching technique, they're watching form, they're making sure that the players are communicating, and then we will do this for 4 quarters. So the first 2 quarters are just your normal sequence here. When they do get back, they'll switch to the other line. So if you're going on the left side, when you get through the first quarter, then you'll go to the right side. So that way your closeouts are primarily going to your right. So you get those 2 quarters where you're going once right, once left. Now the next variation that we'll do for the 3rd quarter and the 4th quarter is probably my favorite. And this requires the players to communicate with each other. You obviously don't want them to bump into each other, hurt each other, but they have to communicate which player is going to go in front, which player is going to go in the back, because they are going to cross. So now as they close out, instead of going to the sideline that's closest to them, they will actually sprint and cross and go to the other sideline. So this forces them really to have to communicate, think while they're tired, which I think is important. And like I said, thinking while they're tired, doing technique things is great in conditioning because they're not just running. They actually have to think on the fly, and they have to do something that is related to basketball and what you're trying to teach on the technique side. So as you see here, we closed out, then we crossed, and then when you get back to the elbow, you'll close out, and then you cross again. So you have to communicate which player is going in front and which will be in the back, and same thing. Still make sure they have good technique, but it requires them to communicate, think on the fly, and it's different. So we will do the 3rd quarter and the 4th quarter like this. So let me know in the comments, guys, how do you teach closeouts? Do you teach to chop the feet? I've seen some people do like a 1-2 step. I've seen some people just teach run-bys or fly-bys to challenge a shooter and make them dribble. What do you guys do? What do you teach? And maybe give me an explanation. I love hearing different thoughts. I love hearing different techniques and what you're teaching, because I think it works differently for each team and each type of defense. But I like hearing from other coaches in terms of how they're teaching things. And again, as you see, they're still closing out. There's still good technique, but now they're forced to cross. You see some players messing up. Again, if they do mess up, get them off the court, make them start over, really hold them to a high standard here, and make sure that there's no errors or there's no mess ups. But this has always been one of my favorite drills. Again, it's usually pretty quick. You can get it done in about 4 to 5 minutes. It's a great conditioning drill, but it's also working on technique and things that you'll do within your defense. Forces the players to communicate, forces them to think while they're tired, and it is a very challenging drill. So if you like this, please like and subscribe for more basketball content.